Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me. Can y'all hear me? What's up? That was a rough one. That was a rough one, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about it. We gotta talk about it. Can you hear me real quick? I have my AirPod in, so I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Real quick, let me know. Merry Christmas, by the way. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Oh man. Oh man. Where do we start? Where do we start? That was a tough loss. 49ers, I mean, man, I don't even know. It was a great experience, first and foremost. I was at the game on the sidelines. I watched the game from the sidelines. So first and foremost, it was a hell of an experience. We still get the wristband. Like that's crazy. But to go out there and see them on the sidelines and see how, tough they fought, it's just rough, man. Like Trent Williams out there, he tried to play. Aaron Banks got hurt. He said he banged up his turf toe. Jalen Moore got a concussion. Like the whole O line was getting cooked up. I mean, the Ravens came in and punched the 49ers in the mouth. They punched them in the mouth. The interceptions by Brock just, it deflated the game. Like from the beginning of the game, the 49ers were deflated. Brock Purdy, man, he just, couldn't rally. It was a tough one, and that first interception, I think this set it off. And then there was a couple bad bounces that went the Ravens' way. And, in these types of games, those are the breaks. You have a bad bounce and it goes the opposite way. The 49ers just could not overcome those mistakes. Interceptions, 4 turnovers on an interception. It was wild. Lamar Jackson came out and he balled out. It was tough to stop them. Gus Edwards, the Gus bus, running on the Niners. I think the Arik Armstead injury is very, 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 um, what's the word? Serious. That's the injury that really is concerning. Concerning to me is Arik Armstead, man. I know Hargrave played; he gutted it out. Ambry Thomas got hurt. You had Jason Verrett come in, and this was the first time he ever took a snap in a long time. I mean, this team was banged up. You don't want to use injuries for an excuse, but honestly, this team, you could tell they were banged up. No Juwan Jennings tonight. I mean, it was an ugly showing. So, whew. The real Spider-Man says they were on a 6-game win streak. This was bound to happen sooner or later. Yeah, better to have this loss now. The 49ers are still in first place. So I know it was an ugly loss, but it's a game that the 49ers are going to learn from. This was the best team in the AFC. If the 49ers want to beat this team, they know what they have to do because they might see them in the playoffs, right? In the Super Bowl. If they want to make the Super Bowl, this might be the team that they play. Although, we still have to see what Lamar can do in the playoffs. But after watching Lamar tonight in my own eyes, live and in person, he is unreal. And tonight, Nick Bosa told the reporters that he was impressed by Lamar because the way they studied him when they studied his film, he played different than what his film was, which is crazy. Like he hesitated, he stopped he was in the pocket more, and then he was rushing out to the sides more. Like this was something that they didn't see on film. This was a Lamar that they didn't prepare for. So the 49ers got hit with the rope-a-dope from Lamar. Lamar was saving this type of performance against the Niners, and then the Ravens just hit the 49ers in the mouth. The other day, George Kittle said that Kyle Shanahan says that the Ravens are the team that hits you in the mouth more than anybody, right? And they did. They came out and they hit the 49ers so hard in the mouth. They caused those turnovers, and the 49ers just couldn't rally. Like they tried, they just couldn't rally. And I don't know why Kyle was going away from Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey tried to backpack this team. He really tried to put this team on his back, but it just wasn't enough. Not enough. I don't know. When you're down that many points, you got to start throwing. But um, it was just a wild game. The Ravens were all over the place, and it was unfortunate. But you got to realize, again, this wasn't the worst loss. It was an AFC opponent. The 49ers are still the number one seed in the NFC, and they still control their destiny. They still just win out these next 2 games. You're still the number one seed, and you can still get that first round bye. But they were the best defense. They really, really, really came in and imposed their will. So Michael says horrible play calling. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Kyle's play calling today. Definitely just some weird plays. You gotta get the ball to Christian McCaffrey. He was tearing it up a little bit too little to Christian McCaffrey, too late. I feel like they tried to surge towards the end, but just wasn't enough for them. And injuries really hit them in the mouth on this game. But again, you can't blame injuries. The Ravens just came in and they were the better team. Shout out to the Ravens, man. They were unbelievable tonight. Teams that get to face Lamar a second time have a winning record. Well, let's hope. The 49ers definitely it was going into this game is a weird vibe because every Monday night football underdog has won this year. So that's a weird thing, right? Lamar Jackson has a incredible record against the NFC opponents. Like I feel like the deck was stacked against us with all those weird records. There were some injuries tonight, and I got to talk about those because again, this was an alarming amount of injuries that we'll get updates on tomorrow. But real quick, this is the injury report from Kyle Shanahan tonight. So Brock Purdy had a stinger. Trent Williams had a groin injury, and he's going to get an MRI tomorrow. Jalen Moore had a concussion. Aaron Banks had a turf toe flare-up, and Ambry Thomas had a hamstring injury. Those are tough, man. It was just a weird game. Kyle Shanahan did say that he believes the stinger issue for Brock Purdy will linger. Purdy potentially could have gone back in, but Shanahan kept him out, given the score in the offensive line situation. He doesn't believe that the stinger issue would linger. So he says he thinks Brock's going to be okay. But again, we'll see how the rest of the week goes, man. Trent Williams' injury would be massive. We cannot have a big injury to Trent Williams. That was the worst. And seeing him, I was there right behind. I was right behind Trent, and you could just see the pain in his eyes. He was like, he wanted to play. After the game, Kyle Shanahan told reporters he wanted to play. They were coming up to Trent, and he was telling Bosa, he was telling Kittle, like, you could tell he was like, I want to play. Like, had his head down. He was frustrated. He was trying to stretch it out. He wanted to play, but Kyle, just doesn't want to take a chance. Again, they have 2 more games. They can win out, be the number 1 team in the NFC. You got to take this loss. You get hit in the chin. You lost 3 games in a row early in the season, and you bounce back, won 6 in a row. It's just one of those games. You got to take it in the chin, man, and it is what it is, man. Cleveland and the Ravens are 2 teams that very well could make it to the Super Bowl. I hope we could beat them, says Randy. I hope so. Myth5 says, I'd rather lose now and beat them in the Super Bowl rather than reverse, keep the faith. Yeah, absolutely. You got to, if our cross paths later down the line, hopefully that the 49ers can beat them, in the rematch. You just never know, but the 49ers have to get there. We lose Trent, it all falls apart, says Spider-Man. Yeah, I just pray that Trent Williams is okay. Jason says Joe Flacco beating the Ravens in the playoffs would be comedy. Michael says Trent needs to take a double dose of glucosamine and glutamine to heal his groin. They need Trent, man. They definitely need Trent. I mean, again, let's hope he's okay. We'll get some injury reports tomorrow. Cleveland versus Detroit Super Bowl, says Chai. I don't think so. Again, yeah, man. This was one of those games. This is one of them weird ones. Like, I just had a weird vibe. Just work as the game started. It was weird, man. Just weird game. And when Brock Purdy's throwing interceptions, you're just like, oh man. I feel bad for Brock because this is the game that people are gonna say he's not an MVP and they're gonna write him off. And now the media was waiting for this. Did you see that post by the NFL on YouTube? Like, the YouTube says Brock Purdy throwing away the MVP. Like, that literally was a caption for a YouTube video. Come on, man. Like, the media, the NFL, everybody is waiting for Brock's downfall. I felt sick for Brock, man. I was so sick for the guy. And, there's people out there, oh, Brock sucks. Like, at the game, people are upset, emotional. This guy's terrible. He's trying. So it's his first bad game, like real bad game of the season. Like, the other 2, he had a bad game. He had a concussion, whatever. People were waiting for Brock's downfall, and the media's going to have a souffle. They're going to have like they're going to love this for it. It sucks, man. It sucks. The Brock Purdy hate is going to be insane, man. And yeah, Myth Vibe says people are saying that Cam Newton was right. Man, it sucks, man. Like, Randy, what was with that headline? What was the headline? Like, why are they hating on Brock? Like, I get it. Every quarterback has had a bad game. Jalen Hurts has thrown multiple picks. Patrick Mahomes, this man's 9 and his team's 9-6. Josh Allen's thrown multiple quarterbacks or interceptions. Dak Prescott. But the NFL was waiting for Brock to have this type of game. It's funny. Spider-Man's right. When the haters are quiet when Brock is cooking, and when he does bad, they coming out of the sewers. They coming out of every single nook and cranny when Brock does bad. It's hard. to watch. Russell says it's hard to win with 102 penalty yards. Yeah, it was a sloppy game, Russell. It was a sloppy game. It was an ugly game. It just was a bad game. Plain and simple, the 49ers got kicked in the teeth. Yeah, it is what it is. This is a game. Like Fred Warner says, you got to look at the film. You got to be able to rinse, repeat. You just got to move on from this. You got to move. You got to move on this. Could feel it right away. Profile says, thoughts on the MVP race tonight? Brock Purdy's not the MVP. It's Lamar Jackson. Tonight, Lamar Jackson won the MVP. He's going to win his second MVP in the NFL. I watched him with my eyes, and he was incredible tonight. Lamar's always been good, and shout out to Lamar, man. This offseason, this man, he bet on himself. He tried to get his own contract. He was his own agent. People said they're stupid. They're going to trade him. He's not worth it. He can't win games. And tonight, Lamar Jackson walked into San Francisco, and he played his ass off. He whooped them. I mean, I know the defense of the Ravens played great, and they got all the interceptions, but the 49ers defense didn't do much to stop Lamar. He was tossing touchdowns. He was running all over them. Tonight was a clinical performance by Lamar Jackson, man, and he won the MVP tonight. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And, I know a lot of people are upset with the 49ers, and they think their Super Bowl run is over. They're still the number one team. They just number one seed in the NFC right now. They just ran into the best team in the AFC. And everybody said, going into this game that the Ravens didn't have a statement game, that the Ravens never beat a good team. Here it was tonight. They came in to Levi Stadium. I think there was just a lot of pressure. I think Brock had a lot of pressure with the MVP. I think the 49ers were I think they might have got ahead of themselves. I honestly think that they just came out, they were super inflated, and they fell back to reality tonight. It was a gut check loss. It was one of those like humbling losses. It was a learning experience. It definitely sucked to see this team lose today. It definitely sucked to see this team lose. But you know what? They needed that. They needed a kick in the mouth because this is going to help them in the playoffs. And I know I hate saying that, but this was the type of game you really learn from, guys. It was tough. I think Christian McCaffrey definitely should be Offensive Player of the Year. But honestly, who cares about the awards? At this point, Niners got to win these two games coming up. Commanders on a short week with a banged-up team. It's going to be harder than you guys think on the road. And then after that, the Rams are surging. That is going to be a very difficult game. I'm not going to lie to you about that. Offensive line is bad, says Angelo. The O-line was bad, but they were mauled, man. I just think that the Ravens showed that they were really good. I honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I knew the Ravens were good, but I didn't know they were that good. Like, their defensive line was incredible. And their O-line, every single time Nick Bosa and Chase Young came up, they just got pushed down. They got pushed down. The Ravens D-line, O-line, trenches were incredible tonight. Run game, Niners couldn't stop Gus Bus. Arik Armstead needs to be back. It was just a beatdown. The 49ers they got outplayed. They got physically bullied. That's it. It was they just got bullied. That's it. I mean, you can't sit there and sugarcoat it, But I still think the 49ers are the best team in the NFC. They've beaten the Cowboys. They've beaten the Eagles. NFC-wise, I think the 49ers are still going to be able to take it down and, do what they got to do. But AFC, Baltimore Ravens proved tonight they are the best team in the AFC. So Kyle should have addressed the O-line. And again, we've talked about that. I think the O-line has played really good this season. They've played better than what they really are. But tonight, it showed who the O-line was. They got hurt, and that depth really showed. They were just not able to stop these guys. And when Trent Williams went down, that was it. And plus the interceptions. I feel like all the injuries kind of piled up, and then with all the interceptions, just too much. They had too much against them. And the 49ers couldn't mount a comeback. The interceptions were backbreaking. So Verrett is bad. I wouldn't say Verrett is bad. I know you guys want to talk about Jason Verrett. So Ambry Thomas pulled his hamstring tonight, and they had to throw Jason Verrett today. This is his first game he's played in, 2 years maybe? That's a lot of rust. It's a lot of rust. I mean, the fact that he was actually playing tonight, shout out to Jason Verrett, man. Warrior. This dude's been through every single injury that you can imagine, every bad injury. Jason Verrett, yeah, he got a touchdown let up on him. That's his first game he's played in 2 years. Like, if you get to that point, where you have to use Jason Verrett. It's tough, unfortunate. Big game. This is his first big spot. I mean, no excuse, but Ambry Thomas has been balling, and he got dog walked tonight, and then he pulled his hamstring. You got to throw Jason Verrett in a tough spot. Again, it was just an unfortunate situation for the whole team, man. And they lost all their momentum. There's no momentum for the 49ers tonight. They had lost it from the beginning of the game, the big moment for the 49ers was that safety. And I was like, okay, the Niners got this. They got this cooking. Even before that safety, there was you know, the big catch by George Kittle to open the game. Like the game started off hot, an interception, okay, but then the 49ers got the safety, and then after that it was just interception, and it just was an unfortunate series of events. It was unfortunate series of events, and they couldn't mount a comeback. You know, how does it feel to be Purdy humble tonight? I mean, I would if I'm an Eagles fan, I wouldn't be talking on here. The Niners crushed them, so I don't know why people are talking. If you're a fan of another team in the NFC, the Niners crushed everybody pretty much in the NFC. Ravens are good, man. Yeah, Brock Purdy had a bad game, but a lot of quarterbacks have had bad games. Um, Caleb says, "Why do you think the team struggle with injuries literally every year?" That's the NFL, man. The NFL is tough. It's a doggy. It's a very rough game, man. You know, rough game. And by the end of the season, it's the survival of the fittest. If you're able to, withstand the injuries and, have good depth, that's what it takes. And good teams have good depth, and 49ers do. But this was just a game where everything piled up. Again, it was one of those weird games. NFL depth is um, what every team strives for. That's why you draft players. That's why you get free agents. That's why you sign players to your practice squad. It's a whole team approach. But, as good as the 49ers depth was, it was tough. You lose a guy like Trent Williams, and then everybody else falls apart, and this game was already kind of going away from them. It's just weird. But, yeah, the 49ers definitely have injuries every year. But if you look around the league, every team has injuries every year, But because we closely follow the 49ers, we see it up in our face. We're like, oh my God, the 49ers have all these injuries. But a lot of other teams have injuries, So Eagles can't beat a 49ers team that actually has a quarterback. Yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, man, it is what it is. Every team loses. Niners are still on top of the NFC. They control their destiny. So, I'm not too worried. It was a rough loss, but it was an AFC game. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter because you would like to see your team beat a big opponent like this. But again, it was a game you learn from. So, you know, Angelo says, I think today showed home field advantage isn't as powerful as we thought. I don't know. I still think that home field advantage is very powerful, and that that first week bye is important. But you got to remember, 49ers just ran into a buzzsaw tonight. I just think that's what it was. I don't think the 49ers were prepared for this fight as much as we wanted them to be. And again, Nick Bosa said it tonight. He said that the 49ers, prepared for Lamar one way and he played a whole different style. Let me pull up the quote. I really was like, I was like, wow, did he really? This was like the quote that really got me surprised. Let me see. I think Lombardi tweeted this. This to me again, this was everything. So let me see. Yeah, so Nick Bosa said Lamar Jackson changed up his tendencies from earlier this season for this game. Jackson had been waiting more in the pocket, but he reverted to hunting for escape hatches today. Bosa noted midstream shift was very impressive. I mean, that's the get. That's the thing, man. This team, you thought you prepared for something, and boom, Ravens hit you with something else. I think that Harbaugh outcoached Kyle Shanahan, and that's what it was. The 49ers thought they had everything prepared. They looked at the film. They said, we got it. And that's what it really looked like tonight. It looked like the 49ers were absolutely lost. They were lost. They didn't know what to do on offense. They couldn't figure out what to do on defense. They could not stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. The 49ers were missing tackles again, and they were getting ran over. They were getting ran over. They had it, but the 49ers were still in this game. At halftime, it was a 4-point game, despite the interceptions by Brock, right? It was all those interceptions with 3 interceptions at halftime, and they were still only down 4. So the 49ers are still great. They just have to execute better. They just have to game plan better. They got to play defense better. You can't turn the ball over. You can't turn the ball over. You can't throw 4 interceptions. So 49ers still had a chance, really, to kind of turn this game around. And those second half adjustments that we usually see, they didn't make them this year. They didn't make them this game. They didn't make those second half adjustments. And Kyle got outcoached tonight. Honestly, Kyle got outcoached. That's it. Bottom line, Kyle got outcoached tonight. Defense got outplayed. Offense got outplayed by their defense. O-line, D-line got worked. Simple as that, man. Could have used Hufunga. Could have used Arik Armstead. Jawan Jennings, I think, was a big loss. They just didn't have that extra guy because there was a lot of third down situations. The 49ers couldn't get a first down, and I think Jawan Jennings was a big part of that. I think he's more important than many people can understand. Jawan Jennings would have made some big plays and opened it up, and he's just another good weapon. No disrespect to any of the receivers on the 49ers. They just didn't have that physical guy that he blocks a lot. I think that was a big loss, too, in the offense. When it was third down, Debo's doubled. You had Ayuk doubled up. They didn't have that extra guy to go out there and make a big play. Conley and Willie Snead, they're just not as good as Jawan Jennings out there. They're not as physical. So, my man Angelo says Arik better play next week. I don't know. It is Commanders. He does have plantar fasciitis. It's one of those injuries, So, very unfortunate, tough injury. Workaholic says, did I have a good Christmas? I was good until, I wish it would have won. I wish they would have won, honestly, but it was still a great Christmas. I mean, we had a great time. Good food. I mean, I was at the sideline. I had like VIP seats, free food all night. I wish Niners would have won, but overall, my experience was great. Niner fans were cool, out there on the sidelines, and there's a vibe. But you definitely want to go and see your team win. Team Cali says the Ravens sat their 2 safeties up top. Yeah, they really were. They were sitting back, waiting. They covered and rushed. And that's all they did because the O-line was falling apart. They put pressure. Purdy was under pressure like almost all night. And if he threw it up, they had guys waiting. So we learned a lot from it. Absolutely, we learned a lot from it. David says the O-line, hope they will be good. Me too. Greedy says we started nice but cooled off, and I think interception started to fog Brock's vision. Absolutely. When those interceptions start to hit, it's hard to bounce back. The 49ers tried hard, man. They fought hard. You could tell. Just seeing them on the sidelines, you could tell they were frustrated. The guys were pissed off, man. They wanted this win. I know these guys wanted this win, but those are the breaks. That's football, right? No, you can't let this ruin your Christmas. Absolutely. The 49ers are still the number 1 seed, man. Isaiah says Purdy was uncomfortable the whole game. I felt he was rattled today. I felt this was the first time I didn't see Brock poised today. I didn't notice that he was poised today. This was the one time I noticed Brock just didn't look comfortable. He didn't look like the normal, confident Brock today, But, shout out to Brock, man. After the game, he says, I got to look in the mirror. It pains me, and I got to do better. I love Brock for, he takes accountability. That's the thing, man. Everybody wants to hate on Brock today, but he took accountability. Shout out to Big Brock today, man. This is the NFL. Tough to win. Yeah, absolutely, Flood. Team Cali says, I just hope no serious injuries. Yeah, there were some big injuries today, so let's hope that Trent Williams is going to be okay, So I generally forgot that Brock is first. What was this comment? That this is Brock's first full season sometimes. He's been doing it. It seems like he's been doing it longer, says Lauren. Yeah, and that's the thing. Brock makes it look like he's been a 10-year vet. It's his second year, ladies and gentlemen. He's 22 years old. He's going to make mistakes. He's bound to have a game like this, He's still a young buck, man. So I'm okay if he makes mistakes. Quarterbacks do this. from time to time. Nobody's, Superman. Nobody's perfect. A lot of big time quarterbacks make mistakes, and this was Brock's worst game. What Brandon Ayuk said tonight was, can he bounce back? Will he be better next week? And he says, I'm excited for him to bounce back, and I think he will. So it will only make him better. I agree. Happens to every quarterback. You don't get to choose when. When you do have a game like this, now you see how you respond. How will Brock play next week? How can he do? There was a lot of hype today. There was a lot of pressure. I don't want to say that Brock fell under the pressure, but I think that today, you could just see, like, everybody was talking about MVP, this, that, myself included. Like, we were overhyping this guy. Maybe we weren't overhyping him, but we were hyping him to a max level. And tonight, I think the Ravens played, with the chip on their shoulder. They said all week they felt disrespected. They said that they feel like they're the better team. And again, I think all the bulletin board material that was out there, Mike Florio, he said that the 49ers were going to kick the out of them, out of the Ravens. Like, the Niners, they didn't do any bulletin board material, but the media was causing, the Ravens to be a little upset, right? You had Kyle Humphrey says, they feel disrespected. They feel like they're the better team. They don't know why they're the underdogs. The Niners, obviously they should have been the favorite. They should have been the team that had the best chance to win this game. They were the number one team. They're riding high, number one team in the NFC, 6-game win streak. They've been hot. They beat the Cowboys. They beat the Eagles. They beat everybody, right? That they've, big time opponents for the most part. But the Ravens took that and used it as motivation. So kudos to the Ravens, man. They did what they had to do. They used that as motivation. My man Spider-Man says they overhyped the 49ers. I hate when they do that. I do feel like this was one of those games where it was like, you're kind of gonna, you're gonna feel let down at the end. It just had this weird vibe. When I walked in the stadium, I was like, I don't know about this one. I was absolutely not, nervous until I walked in the stadium, and it's just the feeling that came over me. I was like, oh, I don't know about this one. So, my man Isaiah says, how about Jason Verrett getting a couple of snaps? Yeah, it's nice to see him. I know he didn't play perfect. I know the secondary didn't play great tonight. They got hurt. Ambry Thomas, he had a hamstring injury, and then Jason Verrett had to come in. He let up a touchdown, but it was just nice to see Jason out there. It was very, very, cool to see that guy. He's been through a lot. Hopefully, he can get, a little bit up to speed. He's rusty, obviously, but yeah, the secondary definitely needs to play better, 100%. Am I nervous come playoff time? No, I'm not nervous. I just think the Niners in the NFC can handle business. I think they'll be able to handle business in the NFC. But, they got 2 games. They got to get healthy. That's the biggest issue is, can the 49ers get healthy? So, yeah, my man Spider-Man says, we need the number 1 seed because the boys are bruised up bad. It's what it is. They got to get healthy. They got to be able to stay healthy and, lick them wounds off. So, it was fun, though. Good game, good experience. I wish they would have won, right? But hey, it could be worse. The 49ers, what, are 11-4? 11-4, maybe? Last time I checked, that's great. The only let me check on the Chiefs. Chiefs are 9-6. They lost to the Raiders today. So, AFC teams are tough for the 49ers, right? They lost to Cleveland. They lost to Baltimore. Those 2 teams have a physical defense. Now, what is the difference between the losses the 49ers had and the wins? Those 2 losses specifically, physical defense. I guess you could say the Bengals are pretty physical too. Minnesota, that game was just a bad loss. But yeah, most of the teams that the 49ers lost, 3 of the 4 losses were AFC North teams. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. But yeah, they lost to the Bengals, they lost to the Browns, and the Ravens. 3 AFC North teams. They're all black and blue type, hit you in the mouth defensive teams. Physical. That's the only way to beat the Niners is to get physical with them because they're going to get physical with you. So, how can we lock up the number 1 seed, says Workaholic? All they got to do is win the next 2 games. They win out. If they can beat the Washington Commanders and the LA Rams, they'll be the number 1 seed. The LA Rams are looking good, though. So, we'll see. My man Ted Beat says, good to be a 49ers fan regardless. Absolutely. It's still good times to be a 49er fan. Yeah, absolutely. Just win out. Just went out. So didn't see much of Ward. He didn't get targeted a lot. Uh, they were picking on Ambry's side, and they were running a lot. Honestly, I didn't see a lot of action thrown to Lenore or Ward's way. Lenore was in there. He was hitting hard. He missed a tackle or two, but he didn't play bad. Mainly they were running, and then they had good field position for most of the game. The Ravens had great field position, so it's like they were on the red zone for most of the game, and they were just throwing easy touchdowns. You know, Spider Man says, "I don't know, but do you think MVP is lost, Raj?" Yeah, I think the MVP is lost by the 49ers. But I think Brock Purdy definitely lost his MVP chance, and it's not because should he should still be in the MVP race, but it's the media. The media was waiting for this type of game. I mean, they already had the YouTube post on Brock Purdy throwing away the MVP. Like this, media was waiting for this. I can't see voters after today picking him to win because they were waiting. Most of the voters were waiting for this type of game. So I think Lamar basically won the MVP today. That's it, bottom line. So is Ambry Thomas worth starting in your opinion? Angelo says. I think he's been very good since he's coming in the lineup today. He pulled his hamstring. It wasn't his best performance, but I think up until today's game, he had a really good season. I think Ambry Thomas has been playing well. So shout out to Ambry Thomas, man. I think he has done a good job overall this season. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end this right now. I appreciate you guys for hopping in. I wanted to give you my thoughts on this game. It was a tough loss. I'm probably going to head up to Instagram here in a few minutes and talk to you guys over there, talk to the Instagram crowd. But appreciate you guys. Hey, shout out to all the supporters on this YouTube page. We're really growing big, and I'm so happy, and I'm so supportive of all the people that support me, and I appreciate it. I know we lost today, but hey, this has been a good season. They're still 11-4. They're still number one team, man. There's still a lot of good football left. There's still a lot of season left to go. So don't give up. I know it was a tough loss. Ravens are a good team, and again, appreciate you guys, man. We're building. Shout out to you guys. We're at 4K subscribers on the YouTube, man. Love it. We growing fast. So thank you. I know this was a late stream, but I did want to hop on and talk to you guys. By the time I got home, I was like, I still got to talk to the folks. So 10 o'clock, but it don't matter. We still got to grind. But I appreciate every single one of you guys. I love you. We'll be back on Instagram. Y'all take care. Make sure you hit that like button. All that good stuff. Hit the like button. Do me a favor. You want to see me grow? Hit the like button. I know it sounds stupid. I hate to say that, but it matters. Hit that like button.